the internet was just created. So you coming in contact with the other nations, you don't know whether that is the true president or not. You're not that deep into history, and you trust whatever the television tells you. I'm not so sure that the guy in Israel is a real, genuine, positive Jew. He could be Jewish and he could be negative. He could be Nazi and he could be positive. If your Jewish nation is majority fucked up, we don't know. That's why we take censuses. And when they did that census, I hate to say it, but it makes sense. And then when you get thrown in that prison camp, then the Jews go, okay, yeah, majority of us are kind of fucked up. And that's what Americans are starting to realize. And then they realize, oh, wait a minute, we're not Americans. Just like me. How come 9 years out of my life you want to claim that I'm American? That's depicting me as your property, and I'm not your property, you're my property. You've fallen on my land. Just like an apple. It may have grew on your fucking property, but it fell on my land. And you don't really own any property. You rent property. You can't necessarily do that. It's... Okay, my point is we don't really know who the president or the chiefs are of anything because they've wanted to delete it in history, and that's Americans that are doing that, okay? And if America does that, and America's in allies with all these other nations, and they have brought in Nazis to control that, that's a fact. We as a people need to learn that, okay, fuck this shit, okay? Even the Russians know something's up. They were in space before us. I'm not even going to get into that stupid-ass conspiracy. But it's not a conspiracy. It's a future dilemma in my book. A book of my mind. I'm scared that that's something possibly that could happen. So how could we prevent it? I'm that crazy guy. I could think, how crazy could I kill somebody? And what would I do to prevent that from happening? Right? But I also think, okay, if they're going to use that to prevent it from happening, what would I be able to do to prevent them from being able to deploy that? And then how could I prevent them from being able to fucking disemploy that? I am so OCD and ADD that I keep going so deep into thought that if I talk to you on video rather than write it down, I could get my thoughts across, because sometimes I go fucking 20 seconds and I go off on a tangent, and I forget what I'm trying to explain, but it all makes sense. That's why in a courtroom, you have to say, well, this doesn't apply to the topic. No, but it does. Just like the sun is not a part of the world, but it applies to it. Okay, the sun may not be around forever, but it's going to come back around and show you why this life exists. And judges need to learn that kind of shit too.